We're going to get started because I want to be respectful of your time. I know that some of you are coming in, some of you are heading out, so we want to get through this as quickly as possible. It will be a little less time than it was last year, probably between 30 and 35 minutes. And for anyone who's a supervisor, we will need you to stay for about 5 minutes after the program, after we finish with the first part of the program. So let's see here. All righty. So we're here to talk about respect in the workplace, discrimination and harassment prevention training. This is our annual training. We are required to do this by the Division of Gaming Enforcement. For those of you who don't know who I am, I'm the Director of HR. My name is Patty Finneran. We were to have someone come in and do the training for us from corporate, but unfortunately, as things happen, she wasn't able to make it, so we're doing this ourselves, but this is a program that they helped put together for us. So we'll get started here. For anyone who needs the information for human resources, we're going to talk about harassment, discrimination, and reporting these things. And these are the phone numbers that you would use to report any type of harassment or discrimination. We also have an email address, and you can send things to the email address. Okay, so our goal is to have an environment where everyone is treated with respect and dignity. We want to maintain a safe environment free of all forms of harassment and discrimination. Having a work environment free of harassment and discrimination is paramount of importance to the company. Okay, we're going to talk about a couple different things. One is personal relationships, unlawful harassment, discrimination, and retaliation, diversity, and respect in the workplace. Our policies prohibit all forms of harassing, discriminatory, and/or retaliatory behavior and practices in the workplace. You can also find our policies in the handbook. At the end of this, you are going to get an attendance slip that you will take back with you, and with that is also going to be a copy of our harassment policy as well as a poster. And you'll take that with you to your supervisor, similar to what we did last year, for those of you who are back for the second year. Okay, so we want to make sure all employees are aware and know the policies and procedures and the laws that govern them. The expectation is that all employees are going to be educated on what is expected in the workplace, and that's why all of us are here today. We want to make sure that employees have the knowledge and understand what they should do if they encounter harassment, discrimination, or retaliation in the workplace, or disrespectful behavior. So part one is personal relationships. Are personal relationships permitted? Is there a no dating policy? You can see there's a little scale there because, in certain circumstances, we all come to work and we work with a lot of people and mostly with people more than we even do sometimes with our family. We spend more time with our work families, and people become close and relationships can happen. There are relationships that are okay, but then there are some that are not. So dating and inappropriate fraternization amongst employees and management is discouraged. So a manager who is dating a subordinate or an employee that reports to them, that is something that's discouraged. It's something that should be reported to upper management and/or human resources. Those kind of relationships could cause unnecessary hardship. It could make things uncomfortable. It could result in favoritism or perceived favoritism, and it could lead to a violation of harassment policy. Somehow the relationship doesn't go well at a certain point, then things could happen, and it could create a hostile environment, not just for the people involved in the relationship, but perhaps for people who work with those individuals. So our commitment is to provide a safe work environment free of all forms of harassment, discrimination, and retaliation. The policy applies to all incidents of harassment, discrimination, and retaliation. It applies to all individuals that come into play in the workplace. It includes management, coworkers, customers, guests, vendors, suppliers, anyone otherwise connected to the workplace. And it applies to all conduct in the regular course of business. The business could be a recruitment, a job fair, even if it's not on-site, it could be off-site. If it's a party or an event off-site, that would also pertain to the workplace if it's a work-related situation. Anything to do with hiring, training, anything work-related is included. So harassment, what is harassment? Harassment's any unwelcome conduct that's based on a characteristic or trait that an individual may have in a protected category, and it has an adverse impact on the work environment. Discrimination is behavior that treats people unequally due to their membership in a particular group. And we're going to talk about what those groups are. So the law and our policies prohibit unlawful harassment and discrimination based on protected categories. Protected categories include age, over the age of 40, ancestry, nationality, race, color, religion, creed, medical condition, which includes disability, gender, gender identity or expression, marital status, civil union status, domestic partnership, genetic information, national origin, sex, which includes pregnancy, childbirth, and breastfeeding, affectional or sexual orientation, veteran or military status, rehabilitated offender status, atypical, hereditary, cellular, or blood trait. Retaliation. So talking about retaliation, what is that? That would be any adverse action taken against an employee because they complained of harassment or discrimination or they participated in an investigation. If you ever feel that raising an issue or questioning someone's behavior has negatively impacted you, you need to report it to Human Resources. Now, no retaliation does not mean that a person cannot be disciplined for things that they're doing wrong, perhaps if they're not performing their job duties or they violate a rule or don't come to work and violate the attendance policy. Those things can still happen, but an employee can't be retaliated against for participating in or bringing up a discrimination complaint. Okay. So workplace harassment and discrimination, it violates not only our policy, but it violates the New Jersey law against discrimination, that's the state law. Title VII of the Civil Rights Act, that is federal law. Age Discrimination in Employment Act, the Americans with Disabilities Act, and GINA, which is the Genetic Information Non-Discrimination Act of 2008. So people are protected in the following manners. They're protected for hiring practices, recruitment processes, training and career development, pay, benefits, compensation, work assignment, which could be a transfer or promotion, discipline, discharge, evaluations, any other terms and conditions. Also includes reasonable accommodations under ADA, pregnancy, or any type of religious accommodation. So there's two types of harassment. The first type is something that is pretty clear and to understand when it's happening if you ever see it. It's called quid pro quo, and that's basically, that means this for that, and it's basically someone asking for something in favor for something else. That could be where a supervisor says, please go out with me and I'll make it worth your while, I'll get you a raise, I'll get you a better schedule, or threaten someone that if you don't go out with me, you know, bad things could happen. That's quid pro quo, that means this for that. The second part is hostile or environmental harassment, and that is where conduct is severe or pervasive, that it would create a work environment that a reasonable person would consider intimidating, hostile, or abusive, and it interferes with their ability to do their job. That could be unwelcome conduct by a manager, a supervisor, a vendor, a supplier, a guest. And it's based on the employee's protected characteristic. Victims don't have to be the person being harassed. A victim could be a bystander. could have two people who are engaging in inappropriate conduct, and the person being offended by it is a bystander, not even participating in it. So the intent of the harasser is irrelevant. Many times when we do investigations, the person that's being accused of the improper conduct, not always exactly harassment, but you generally hear them say to us, well, I didn't mean it. I was just joking around. I was kidding. You know, I wasn't trying to offend anybody. The reality is it doesn't matter what the intent of the person is who's saying the things or doing the things towards the victim. It's how the person feels that it's being done to. So that is what's important, not what the intent is of the harasser. It's how the person feels who's on the receiving end of it. So we have a little presentation. Our legal department down in Houston put together a program that has an example of harassment, and you'll see here a situation where a female is in a situation of being harassed and how things work. Now, for those of you who know that the Rockets are owned by Landry's, they enlisted their mascot, Clutch, to participate in this program. So this is not a real situation. This is a made-up situation, but it's to explain what happens when harassment occurs.
Man, I went out with this smoking babe last night. Totally hot, man. She was all over me, you know. Gentleman never tells, you know. But yeah, man, you guys should have seen her.
Hey everybody, I want to introduce you to Sarah.
Oh, hi, Jim.
Nice to meet you.
Hi, Paul.
And then we have Clutch. Okay, let's get you back to training. Training.
But yeah, I think she like models on Instagram or something, man. It's crazy, dude.
So is he always like that?
Yeah, it's just Clutch. He's a bear, him just being him. But he could be a little over the top sometimes, but it's nothing to worry about. But let me go check on something real quick and I'll be right back.
Okay. Did you see what Clutch just did? Is that really okay around here?
Your Clutch? Listen, Clutch is harmless. He's just a bear. Plus he's like my best employee. What do you want me to do? Just tell him to stop and it'll be fine.
Hi, I'm Jeanette McKay. On behalf of my clients, I'm here to announce to the press conference today that we are suing McCormick & Schmicks. These ladies had to endure harassment every day at work. McCormick & Schmicks and Clutch, you're gonna get what you deserve.
Clutch, bro, we just got served.
So obviously that is a pretty clear situation of harassment. She was uncomfortable, she reported it, and what happened? Nothing. And a few months later, they're in a situation where they're getting served. Believe me, you do not want to be on the receiving end of being served. So what is sexual harassment? Well, sexual harassment is a form of sex discrimination. It could include unwelcome sexual advances, requests for sexual favors, uninvited touching, which you saw in the video, or other verbal and physical conduct of a sexual nature. There clearly was other verbal and nonverbal conduct in there that was inappropriate. Victims do not have to be of the opposite sex. Victims may directly inform their harasser that the conduct is unwelcome, that it should stop, but they do not have to. Harassment doesn't have to be in a sexual nature either. Making any kind of offensive remarks about a person's sex is not tolerated. It does not have to be a sexual nature. Examples of harassment or discriminatory behavior could include verbal a situation where making offensive jokes or innuendos about someone's protected characteristic or trait, making stereotypical comments, adding any kind of racial, religious, gender, or gender identity or gender expression undertones or meaning to your commentary, or discussing sexual experiences. Those things are all things that are examples of verbal harassment. There could be physical, which in this case, there definitely was physical touching, groping, touching, or making other inappropriate contact, invading someone's personal space, lingering in someone's area, offensive nonverbal communications, looking people up and down. Or there's visual, which could be any type of texting or emailing. All of us have phones, and I'm sure all of us have seen or witnessed inappropriate social media posts or texts or emails, things of that nature. Please just remember that once you put things in writing, they don't go away, so you can't take them back. That's something that's out there pretty much forever, so you have to be careful with that. Sharing or posting any kind of offensive imagery of sexual, ageist, racial, religious, or any other protected characteristic, or displaying any kind of derogatory or demeaning posters or props in your areas. So what do you do if you experience or witness conduct that violates the policy? First, you want to promptly report any concerns to Human Resources, and we gave you the numbers at the beginning of the program. The numbers are also on the anti-harassment policy that you're going to receive when you leave here. Director of HR for the company. Any other member of management that you feel comfortable with. You do not have to go through your chain of command. You do not have to report something to your immediate supervisor. You can skip your immediate supervisor and go up through your chain of command, or you can go to someone that's not even in your chain of command, and you can go to them. If they're a management person, you can talk to them. For emergencies, security is available. If there's a situation that needs emergency looking at, you can go to the security department. You shouldn't let the problem continue. Don't ignore it, and don't engage in the behavior. Make sure if there's a situation that you're involved in that you ensure you are thorough, that you're truthful and cooperative when you report your concerns. Make sure that you can know that you can raise concerns without any fear of reprisal. Discuss it with Human Resources or Employee Relations and or management. And understand there's no chain of command. You are not required to go through the chain of command. I know I repeated that, but it's important to know you do not have to go through your chain of command when you're reporting issues of harassment, discrimination, or any type of retaliation. And if you're comfortable, you can advise the person that's doing the harassing that it's offensive and ask them to stop, but you don't have to. At times, I mean, it may stop it if there's something that's just starting to go on and you want to stop it, and you just say, hey, I'm not comfortable, and you can tell the person to stop. If you're not comfortable and you know someone that can tell them, you can ask them to tell them to stop. But either way, whether you tell them or you don't, you can still report it. Any concern would be investigated fully. It would be investigated in a fair and timely manner, and it will be kept confidential to the extent possible. Now, I say that because you can't always keep everything confidential. I have people come up to me and say, I want to talk to you, I want to bounce something off of you, but it's off the record, it's confidential, don't talk to the other person. And my response to them is that I can't do that. My job is to do an investigation and to make sure that any type of situation that's making someone uncomfortable is stopped. So to the extent possible, it'll be kept confidential. But as supervisors, don't promise confidentiality because we need to talk to the other person. If you don't talk to the other person, it's not going to stop. Can't stop something if they don't know what they're doing. They may not know they're doing it or understand or realize that they're doing something. So to the extent possible, only people involved in the situation will be spoken to. But it may not be, and generally isn't fully confidential. An investigation would have to happen. Harassment is unacceptable and won't be tolerated, and remedial action would take place. And remedial action could be that the individuals are separated. It could be that someone is placed on investigative suspension or a schedule moved or something like that. Depending on the outcome in the situation, something will happen to resolve the situation, and then we will also follow up. So what's retaliation? Well, the policy and the law prohibit retaliation against any person who filed a good faith concern of unlawful harassment or discrimination or retaliation, and anyone who participates in an investigation regarding it, any witnesses that are involved in it, or anyone that just opposes or reports a concern about unlawful practices. So it doesn't necessarily have to be only the person who's reporting it. People are also protected from retaliation if they are involved in the investigation. Any questions on harassment, discrimination, and retaliation? Okay, we're going to move to diversity. Okay, so diversity and inclusion. Well, studies continue to identify diverse and inclusive organizations or teams make better business decisions and deliver better overall results. Diversity is defined as a range of human differences, such as race, nationality, gender identity, age, social class, physical ability or attributes, religious or ethical value systems, and political beliefs. Inclusion is involvement and empowerment where inherent worth and dignity of all people is recognized. Diversity refers to the wealth of differences that exist between all of us. The differences between employees can be good. They can help us learn of new ways of doing things, look at problems from a fresh viewpoint, maximize performance of employees, and force us to continue evolving and changing. I know that, you know, in my role, I want to make sure that I have people working with me that have all different types of skills and abilities and backgrounds. I don't need 4 or 5 more Patties because I already have me. I don't need another Patty. I need people that can continue to give me different advice and challenge me and come from different situations and have different knowledge and background, and that really is what makes a team. When you think about football, you think about all the different players on the team and how each one has their own specific skill and ability. And you know, if you just had a football team of all quarterbacks, you're never going to score. You're never, you know, you have quarterbacks, a bunch of people running down the field, nobody catching the ball, nobody kicking the ball, nobody defending anybody. So you need to make sure that we have people that can do everything and have all of the differences in skills and abilities and backgrounds that really make us a great team. Stereotypes, okay, so stereotypes and bias can affect our understanding, action, and decisions in an unconscious manner. Stereotypes and biases are not actually based on facts. Our brains tend to use them to help us make decisions quickly. We think about something, if we know something quickly, we think about it quickly, and we don't really take everything into consideration. A bias is when we have either a preference for or an aversion towards a person or even a group of people because of their appearance or personal characteristics. Our brains don't always process through situations, and we're set upon instinct or implicit unconscious bias. So diversity and inclusion, acknowledging we all have and possess stereotypes or unconscious biases as a product of life, allows us to understand how we can shift our feelings, our thinking, and use our facts and circumstances to determine our actions. It's important in the workplace we rise above our fears and uncertainties that lead us to avoid those who are different or to treat them with less respect. What is our commitment? Well, we want to provide an environment that permits all employees to work together in a positive, inclusive, and professional environment. We want to foster an environment where diversity is highly valued. Maintain an environment that is intolerant to any type of prejudice. And we want to listen to other viewpoints and experiences. The Ernest Hemingway quote in here says, when people talk, listen completely. Most people never listen. A lot of times we get in a conversation with someone and we're only thinking about what is the next thing that we're going to say and not really listening to what the person is saying. So next time you're in a conversation or even talking to people who are maybe a little different from you or maybe people that you wouldn't normally engage in a conversation, make sure you listen to them. People have a lot of different knowledge and experiences and values and just bring a lot to the table. So just keep your mind open, keep your ears open. I have to force myself to do that a lot, but keep your ears open. It really does work and it's valuable. With regard to respect in the workplace, we want to make sure everyone is treating each other with respect and in a dignified manner. Recognize and respect individual differences. Make sure that all communications are professional and respectful. This is kind of a no-brainer, but profanity and other unprofessional or inappropriate communications should be avoided. Supervisors and management have the responsibility to stop any type of disrespectful conduct or commentary. All employees are required to maintain a high level of professionalism and use the Be Fair acronym. You want to be fair, friendly, accommodating, inclusive, and respectful to one another, to our guests. And in final review, just make sure that you're consistently enforcing all of the policies. You want to be proactive, you want to listen and have awareness. Make sure you are fostering and maintaining a respectful and professional environment. And don't tolerate or permit behavior that violates our policies. Just kind of in conclusion here, don't retaliate against anyone, including witnesses who report behavior. Be cooperative during the investigation process. Harassment, discrimination, and retaliation is not tolerated. And all employees have responsibility to promptly report conduct or behavior that violates these policies. Okay, just a little bit extra stuff for the supervisors here. Because you are a supervisor, there are some additional responsibilities that you have to report any type of harassment that you may become aware of or any type of discrimination that you become aware of. You have a duty and a responsibility to report that. Any kind of tolerating behavior and not reporting the policy can result in what happened with Clutch and his supervisor there becoming named defendants in a lawsuit. So we definitely don't want that happening. Supervisors who know of harassment and don't report it or are involved in it themselves are strictly liable. So you could be held you could be sued along with the company. So we want to make sure that hot potato that lands in your lap gets out of your lap immediately and passed on to the people that need to handle it, which would be myself, your boss, your immediate boss. Anything that comes to your attention, you need to report it. So, as I said, the company and the supervisor or manager can be liable for any conduct that resulted in a negative employment action for the individual. If you didn't hire someone, you terminated someone, or had any kind of action towards someone that was reporting harassment. Anything that is in a hostile work environment situation, and if you failed to prevent it, you could be held liable for that. That is considered that the company knew or should have known. If a supervisor knows of some type of harassment, doesn't do anything about it, the law says then that the company knew or should have known. And so that puts the company on the hook for that behavior. So our responsibilities as a management. All management are required to communicate and enforce our policies. So when you get the policies, please read them, be aware of them, understand them so that you can make sure you're enforcing it with your employees. make sure that you're doing a job, making sure you're eliminating any kind of harassment or discrimination or retaliatory conduct. You're required to report it, promptly report it. You could be disciplined. If you don't report it, you could be disciplined for that. And then we all are responsible to make sure that we are creating an environment that makes employees comfortable coming to us and speaking to us about their concerns. We will not tolerate harassment, discrimination, or any kind of retaliation by any person associated with the company. And that is it.